It's a privilege to be here to discuss this important and critical topic, anti-money laundering and countering or combating finance or terrorism, the role of stakeholders today. Financial crimes pose a threat to business, financial institutions, government, authorities, every country. Among these financial crimes, we can talk about the anti-money laundering, we can talk about counter finance or terrorism. The twin challenges posed by these issues, we are aware, will affect the integrity of our financial systems, stability of our economics, and then the safety of our society. And we are here today. Growing up, these words were technical issues for me: anti-money laundering, countering financing terrorism. Too technical, but I'm sure today I will try and attempt to make it very simple. But I know the sweetness of the food is in the pudding. So we'll have people who are seasoned to talk to us on this issue. But we know that policies and laws and regulations that prevent legitimizing illegal source of funding could be seen as anti-money laundering. And the effort to combat or prevent the terrorists using illegal funds will be what we are talking about, the countering financing of terrorism. I'm sure that's a CFT. So to make it very simple for you, that is what we are going to discuss on today. And I'm sure to effectively combat these crimes, all of us, we need to have a comprehensive approach in doing this. And today we are here to equip our students, to equip our faculty, to equip individuals and from other occupations with knowledge, with skills that will help us do this as a country and beyond our borders. That's why we are here today. I think that beyond the legal framework that we have, it also will have a moral impetus that needs to be considered. And that is why we have gathered seasoned keynote speakers, trainers, to train all of us in this direction. So on behalf of the faculty and by extension the university, UPSA, I want to welcome all of you. Don't be in a haste to leave. We are to stay here from today and tomorrow. Afterwards, we give you certificate. You gain knowledge, which will be difficult to have gotten it somewhere. But this is a platform, you have everything. So students, don't be in a rush. Today and tomorrow, we are going to be here. You won't pay for anything. And my earlier colleague indicated, to get these individuals to speak to us, it's seldom, difficult to get them. And today they are here to help us understand these matters. Before I take a bow, I want to thank FIC, Financial Intelligence Center. Our marriage started somewhere last 2 years or last year when we had a program on dialogue, I think dialogue or so, and we met the key people from that. Since then, we've been very good friends. And I believe that in life, everything's about relationship. Build the relationship well, and you get to other places that ordinarily wouldn't have gotten there. So today we are here because they've supported us, they partnered with us, and they have supported in diverse ways. Today is one of the testament things that we have done together, and we keep the relationship very strong. We also want to thank multimedia. We have the reps here, and other media stations who are here. We also want to thank the FAF Innovate project team members. In fact, they deserve a clap. Can we give a clap, a round of applause? back to back, event programs after programs, and they are doing so well. Thank you very much, and the heads of department, the faculty. So, on my own behalf and on behalf of the heads of our institutions, I just want to say thank you very much for coming. May you have a good program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. All right, so we'll be taking our opening remarks briefly from Madam Lucy Abebrese. I would want to ask Prof. Isaac Boedi to help me officially introduce Madam Lucy Abebrese.
I'm sure she doesn't like this introduction. And she knows we have a very good relationship, and there are some introductions that will keep them, and later we'll talk about that later. Anyway. So, Lucy happens to be the head of compliance, FIC, very instrumental to this whole program and other programs as well. So she's here to help us delve deeper into matters on anti-money laundering. So with a round of applause, can we welcome her?
Thank you very much, Prof. The chief servant of the Faculty of Accounting, Professor Isaac Boedi, members from the faculty and the university, and we understand they are all doctors and professors. And it's a big challenge to all of us, and we are happy to be here to interact with such big people. Representatives from the GIZ, and fortunately or unfortunately, they are all Samuel, so I won't mention their names. So the Samuels. Colleagues from my office, Financial Intelligence Center, Mr. Amponsa, our very good partner, head of compliance, Prudential Bank, and he is the president for all market operators who have formed an association to discuss matters that concern them. He is the president. Mr. Amponsa, you're welcome. Our friends from the media, students' body, without you, I'm sure we would have occupied a very tiny room somewhere with a few people, but for your presence, we have all these gathered here. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. Good morning to all of you. Aha, so we are all awake. Okay, I bring you greetings from the chief executive of my office, and I like my office, so usually I don't even mention the name. I say my office is Financial Intelligence Center. He is Mr. Kwekudia, who would have loved to be here to interact during this important engagement, but he's engaged somewhere. So we have the task, myself and Seth, we have a huge task to wear his shoes and make sure that this program become very successful. I wish to welcome all of you to this gathering and also thank you for supporting this collaborative initiative. After Prof put in all the efforts, if you didn't turn up, we wouldn't have a program, so we are very grateful. It is with great pleasure that the Financial Intelligence Center, the custodians of the Anti-Money Laundering Act 2020, Act 1044, is partnering the UPSA in its maiden strategic seminar series, purposely to deepen the understanding of money laundering and terrorism financing to this wide range of audience, ranging from students, professionals, and policymakers. Ladies and gentlemen, the twin menace of money laundering and terrorism financing is gaining a notorious prominence in our society, and the world at large. Although the scale of money laundering and terrorism financing is not known, the UNODC estimates that it is approximately 2.1 trillion Joe Biden dollars. So every year, with all the leakages, but these are the official figures that can be attributed to monies that are lost to the world because of the issue we are coming to discuss here, money laundering and terrorism financing. And this forms about 5% of global GDP. You are the professionals, you are the students, you know what GDP means and what it means to have 5% out of it going because of money laundering. For this reason, the Financial Action Task Force, the global standard setting body, through its 40 recommendations, charged every country in the world to do so many things, but I'll just list a few. 1, legislate and criminalize the offense of money laundering and terrorism financing. 2, establish an institution called, or that can be called, a financial intelligence center like my office. So we are a very international body sitting in Ghana amongst you. And what will be their task? Just to be responsible for the receipt, analysis, and dissemination of financial intelligence to assist in combating the crime of money laundering and terrorism financing, and also tax crimes and any other unlawful activity that would have been criminalized within the jurisdiction. The Financial Action Task Force also encourages countries that in dealing with this serious menace, you have to go and attack this issue on a risk-based approach. And risk-based approach, what does it mean? It means that you don't have all the resources available to you. So look for what is very important to you as a country and then focus your limited resources in addressing it. It also charges countries to apply a range of effective, proportionate, and dissuasive sanctions to culprits, so that when you commit a small crime, we give you a small punishment. When your crime is assessed to be huge, we bring a whole building on you and crush you. So that is what we mean by having a range of effective, proportionate, and dissuasive sanctions. It also charges countries to collaborate with all stakeholders within their country and outside the country, because we are all aware that information sharing is very key when it comes to investigation and prosecution of crime. And as we go into the discussions, I hope you would get a better understanding of all this. And also all relevant stakeholders. And like today, we are partnering with a university. So we are all partners in this. So because of this charge, Ghana has made great strides in this effort. It has a very comprehensive legal and institutional framework. The Anti-Money Laundering Act and a fully functional, well-resourced FIC are the pillars around which Ghana's robust AML-CFT is revolving. I will just mention a few of the initiatives. For example, through the Office of the Registrar of Companies, the country has initiated a beneficial ownership register to ensure that people don't hide behind corporations, entities, so that I set up Lucy and Co. Company, but then the ultimate beneficiary, the one who has the money funding Lucy and Co. Company, is actually Professor Boidi. But his name is not on the registration documents. He's not a director. You will not find him doing anything in the institution or the entity, but he has the controlling powers. He sits at home and instructs what should be done in the entity. Also, we all are aware how many NGOs we have in our country who are purporting to provide social and developmental assistance to people who are in need. Where are they getting their monies from? Who is financing them? When they say they are providing education, how sure are we that that is what they are doing? Through the cooperation of the FIC and the country as whole, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, within it, we have a non-profit organization secretariat, and their focus is just to make sure that these NGOs operate, but then they operate within the legal framework, bearing in mind anti-money laundering issues. Also, the real estate sector, who are also very well represented here, we have seen that every corner of our streets, there is a cordon off and a building coming up. If you don't use one route for 1 week, the next time you go and pass there, a structure is already there. There are lights in it. And in most cases, people are not even occupying it. These are all ways people use to launder money. So there is a real estate agency that has been set up by Ghana to ensure that all activities within the real estate sector is under the control and bearing in mind the anti-money laundering and terrorism financing issues within that sector. Ladies and gentlemen, the Financial Intelligence Center partners with a wide range of stakeholders, from accountable institutions like Davis, who is from a bank, competent authorities that include all the law enforcement agencies and every government agency that you may know, the private sector, international partners like the GIZ who are here present, the general public, and students in maintaining a robust anti-money laundering and terrorism, countering the terrorism financing regime of our dear country, Ghana. A number of joint initiatives, like what we are witnessing today, is ongoing to create the needed awareness on the subject matter and also draw attention to the responsibilities we all have under the Anti-Money Laundering Act. And I hope that by the end of this two-day meeting, you would appreciate what your responsibility as a student, as a microfinance institution, as a government agency, as a professor in the university is required to do. Criminals are using creative ways to clean their illegally acquired funds. Let us bear in mind that our individual and collective actions and inactions could help facilitate the commission of the offense of money laundering and terrorism financing. You may be used as a mule, as a vehicle, as a channel in receiving and transferring somebody's money that they've gotten through illegal means. Sometimes, and I want you to start recalling the times when your friends called you and said, "Oh, my sister in the US is sending me money. Please, I have told her to send it to your Momo." Do you remember those times? Oh, please, I have given your number to her, so she will send the money through your Momo. And then you receive it. When you receive it, you call me, and then I tell you, "Oh, send some to somebody, go and give some to my mother, go and buy the drugs my mother need." And then, "Oh, you keep 100 cedis. What did you do? You only received the money. But have you asked yourself, where is that money coming from? Or is it because Lucy works at the Financial Intelligence Center, she is an angel? She can never receive any money from a drug addict or a human trafficking cartel or anything. Just think about that. You either receive it through your mobile money wallet or through your bank accounts. sometimes you will get that 100 cedis for your effort. In some cases, we won't give you anything because we are good friends. Have you paused to ask the source of the money? Why didn't I give my Momo number to my sister to send me the money? Why didn't I give my account number to my sister to send the money directly to me? These are questions we have to think about when we are being nice to our friends. When you go on the internet, the juicy job advertisement you see, that promises easy money. The hyperlinks that are offering too good to be true offers. Charlie, times are hard. So when the link pops up in your email, before you could read, you have clicked it, indicating that you have won a prize when you know very well that you have not engaged in any raffle. The typical ones are the lottery ones. You know that you haven't staked any lottery. But somebody sends you an email that you have won a lottery. So click on this to do that. These are ways that criminals are using either to launder money or bait you as an unwitting victim. You may also make a donation or a contribution on the internet to raise funds to help some cause, GoFundMe, and the rest. You may not know the ultimate use of these donations. Remember, it could be used to finance a radical group or individual whose aim is to commit a terrorist act. When the law enforcement agencies are following the money as part of their investigations, you will be the one the search will land on, because the money that was used to commit the crime or the money that was moved to launder the funds will be found in your possession. Through investigations, it will be noted that it was your Momo number that received it. And now you have all the time in the world to use all the saliva in your mouth to explain that I don't know anything about it. People usually say, you explain tired. Let us apply reasonable due diligence in all our dealings, particularly our financial transactions. As an educational institution, UPSA, you could also be used as a vehicle to wash dirty money through payments of fees that are usually paid over and above what is required. And then later I will come and say that, oh, I didn't see that you said it was 1,005, but I sent you 5,000. Please refund the rest to me. I have washed my money through UPSA. The use of third parties to pay the fees of students. These third parties, when you do your due diligence, you don't find any connection of that third party to the students. Who are they? Are we asking the questions? Or there is so much competition among the universities that when I put my advertisement out and the students are paying, Charlie, we need the money to run the faculty. Prof is new in his role. He must make sure that his faculty progresses. So we'll take money from anybody at all. Donations from partners to UPSA. Who are they? Where do they make their money from? Are they linked to any illegal activity? Are they linked to any crime? Is the university considering all this? Connections to politically exposed persons. You have a wide range of students' body who may be associated in one way or the other. But remember, if my parents are politically exposed and I am your student, automatically UPSA is also at high risk just because I am in the school. Because my parents will have a wide access to resources, national resources, and they could use me through the university to wash their funds. Are we asking these questions? The products and services of financial institutions could also be patronized to wash dirty money as well as finance terrorist acts through various schemes. As we have heard, we are all vulnerable. Anybody at all can become a victim or an accessory to the offense of money laundering. And that is why this gathering is so important. We cannot overemphasize it. Currently, under the leadership and guidance of the FIC, we are undertaking a national money laundering and terrorism financing risk assessment. What is the aim of this? As a country, we want to look at what are the loopholes. If somebody calls us and say that, oh, I want to launder my funds through Ghana, where are the loopholes that we think these people can take opportunity and launder their funds and wash their money through the country? So this exercise is going to look at all these things and then try and put in mitigants to address or seal those holes, if not completely, at least partially. So all sectors of the economy is going to be assessed. And so representations from varied area, including the academia, is part of this exercise. And it will interest you to know that the UPSA is very well represented in this national exercise we are taking through this faculty that is organizing this engagement. And will it be a coincidence that when we started this discussion 2 years ago, it came into fruition when the National Risk Assessment was launched? We want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who has made this possible. Professor Nabila, we salute you. Doc, we salute you. And all others who have had countless meetings, Zoom meetings, even on Saturdays when others are feeling asleep, with one eye open, we meet to ensure that today happen. I want to entreat all of you to have a very, very interactive program. And the beauty of today's meeting is that we have the academia, we have the practitioners, and we have stakeholders together. So I believe that there will be no question that will go unanswered. The team is quite solid. So we believe that before you leave here tomorrow, you would know what your role is in ensuring that only genuine funds, only funds that are from clean economic activity circulated through the economy. I want to thank you all once again and wish you a very fruitful deliberation. And on this note, I declare this meeting opened. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Lucy Abrabese. That was quite insightful. When the female voices come, you realize the atmosphere changes. When we take over, we start doing the bass end. All right. I think we are grateful for this insightful presentation. I mean, some few things I have taken from what she has just given us. I think it is important for us to really look at this anti-money laundering issue, because clearly she's making it known to us that it's a very dangerous thing if we want to continue encouraging it as a country. If I understood her clearly, she's making it known to us that it encourages corruption, which is so endemic with us in Ghana. over the period. She also made it clear that it encourages terrorist financing. Very dangerous for us because of the economic situations we find ourselves in now. It's clear. She's telling us that because of the situation, any money that comes our way, we are quick to go for it. And it's dangerous for the country's growth. She also made it clear that it affects the economic stability of the country. Clearly, I'm very certain that some of the challenges the economy of Ghana is facing today might be due to some of these anti-money laundering activities. A lot of the things we are facing today. It's also, from what I got, she made it clear that it affects the reputation, or it damages the country's reputation. I mean, if you are noted as a country for anti-money laundering, there are some countries that would want to have you have programs and activities with them. And I'm aware there have been instances where Nigeria and Ghana were banned on some occasions for undertaking certain financial transactions, because of some of these anti-money laundering activities. So it is important for us to take these things quite seriously. So, Madam, we are very grateful, and we hope that when we start with the second session, where we will have the opportunity to ask very interesting questions, we would also ask our questions to get the needed answers. We will want to go on with the next speaker. You know, the program is in two sessions. We would have the speakers for this session, then after that we'll start with the second session, where we'll look at the training session proper. We're still waiting for our keynote speaker. She's in traffic. She called us, she's hung up in traffic, so we're waiting for her. Now, in place of that, we want to welcome Mr. Samuel Eduum. Mr. Samuel Eduum is a technical advisor for global program for combating illicit financial flows at GIS Ghana. Yes. So before he comes, Mr. Samuel Eduum is here with some of his colleagues from the office. We have Mr. Charles Asante Eswa from the Bethesda Chambers. Please, you are welcome. We also have Mr. Samson Kwakwa. I think I know this name. Yes, he's also from GIZ. He's in charge of participation, accountability, integrity for resilience and democracy. You can imagine, quite long. We also have Mr. Joshua Amlanu McJosh. In fact, he's with the Business and Financial Times. If you've noticed, for the past week, UPSA has featured a lot in the Business and Financial Times. I've seen Dr. Musa, I've seen Dr. Nabil, I've seen Dr. Agbanyo, I've seen Prof himself. Hopefully next week I'll also feature. So, Joshua, you are welcome. All right, so without much ado, I want to invite Mr. Samuel Eduum to help us with the next presentation.
Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for the opportunity to share with you some few insights we have gathered over the period of time. And please allow me, mine will be a presentation. I hope it's okay. Oh, that's your preference? Oh, okay. So I got it right. All right. So, well, I'm going to focus on the role of the international community in fighting money laundering or combating money laundering and terrorist financing. I'm sure you all agree with me that we live in a global village, isn't it? Yes. Now, technology has made it possible for all of us to interact, as though we are very close to each other, when whoever you are even engaging is far away from here. And so certainly the international community has a role to play. And you may know that this topic itself is an international topic. And so we will spend some time to go through to understand what their role is, since we are already talking about the role of stakeholders in AML CFT. Okay. All right. So we'll start. And the first role they play, the international community plays, is actually Ernest. As the first role they play is standard settings. Okay. Now, when Lucy was talking, she mentioned a term, Financial Action Task Force. Financial Action Task Force. In short, we call them FATF. So I'm sure when you hear in the media, FATF basically stands for Financial Action Task Force. Now, the standard they set is what we call the 40 recommendations. So once upon a time, when it became very important for anti-money laundering to be combated, there was a need for a global body to be put together and develop standards or what we call recommendations, which will guide countries worldwide to combat this menace we are talking about. And so in defining the role of the international community, the first thing you have to think of or you talk about is the standards that they set. And specifically when it comes to anti-money laundering, the standard is referred to as FATF 40 recommendations. So earlier when they started, it was only 40. And later, extra 9 recommendations were developed. And so it became 40 plus 9 recommendations. So that was supposed to be what, 49. But for them, they said in their equation, 40 plus 9 still comes back to what, 40. So just to give you some history of where it started and where we are now. So it's very important you know that the standard that guides the whole conversation of anti-money laundering and counter of terrorism of financing is purely the 40 recommendation. And so a student or faculty or media or policy advisors, the working documents that we're supposed to guide our work as prescribed by international community is the 40 recommendations. But their impacts, their impact, because as we may have heard, there are different stakeholders as far as this fight is concerned. And so each part, which part A to G, some parts basically talks about risk assessment. And that's why Lucy talked about the national risk assessment that is ongoing, because it's a requirement, there's a part about beneficial ownership. And that's why Lucy gave that illustration where on paper, she is the owner of a company, but really it is Professor Boedi who owns this entity. There's another part that talks about preventive measures. So for example, the awareness session we are having here, when you go in there, it's part of the standards that the international community expects us to put in place. It goes on and on. There's an element of non-profit organization. There's an element of sanctioning. There's an element of international cooperation, mutual legal assistance, and things like that. And we'll look at some of those details as we get along. So let's keep this in mind. The next role the international community plays is research and policy guidance. Research and policy guidance. And I'm sure as students, you appreciate the essence of research, right? Because money laundering is criminal, and crime evolve from time to time, And now lots of the crime that we are seeing are purely technological-based crime, because that's the era we find ourselves. And so what the international community does, first, we have the global sector typologies. So typology is a study, a trend, So global sector typologies. So there are emerging areas, and if you listen to Lucy very carefully, you would hear some of them. She mentioned real estate, because globally, we see real estate as an emerging area where a lot of criminals will take their money, because it's cash intense, okay? And so you put up a building, and then now offices, it gets rented. When you are asked, where did you get this money? You said, oh, I have an office that somebody came to rent. So that's a way. And so the international community usually will do a country analysis. So maybe Africa, Europe, America, and then they will try to understand the trend or the emerging risk, maybe in the real estate sector, and come up with policy guidance that if countries want to combat money laundering in the real estate sector, these are the guidelines they can implement to curb that. So that's another rule. We also have the cybercrime, which is also emerging. That's also another very important area that is strongly coming out. Everything is happening over the internet, okay? And then we also have the cryptocurrencies, right? That's now, initially in Ghana, we have mobile money, and now you hear Bitcoin, you hear virtual assets. How many of us know Bitcoin? You have the Bitcoin. I know him. Okay, so these are emerging areas that criminals are using to disguise the source of their illegal proceeds. And so the international community usually will conduct a global study to come up with trends which will guide countries to prevent or manage some of these threats or vulnerabilities when it comes to money laundering. But we also have the regional vulnerability studies by GIABA, okay? Now, I think I earlier introduced FATF, and then FATF is global, okay? Now, when we come to the regional area, there's a body called GIABA. So what happens is FATF is global, but they can't be everywhere at the same time. So what they did was to identify existing economic or political structures that exist in Africa. And for example, in Africa is divided into 4. So we have West, East, South, and North, isn't it? So in West Africa, we have ECOWAS. So what FATF did was to empower ECOWAS to come up with a secretariat, and the name of the secretariat is called GIABA, okay? And one of the things they do so many things, but when it comes to research and policy guidance, they conduct regional vulnerability studies, okay? And some examples are terrorist financing. And you and I know that we have a lot of issues when it comes to terrorism in the sub-region. You know, Mali, Guinea, Burkina, and the likes, isn't it? So what they also do is to conduct study to understand what are the causes, okay, and how are they financing this terrorism and this sub-region. And the studies are published on their website. So as students, it will be good to familiarize yourself. These are public information that you can have access to. Procurement fraud is also another issue that they spend some time to conduct research on. And you and I know that anytime we talk of corruption, the first thing we think about is procurement. So they spend some time. They also spend some good time talk about counterfeiting. There are a lot of counterfeiting in the sub-region, okay? It could be drugs, it could be currencies, it could be fertilizers, and whatnot. So the idea of the research is to establish a customized research that suits the problems or the peculiarities of the sub-region, in this case West Africa. And if they want to go specific to country, GIABA also has a mandate to do so. Okay. Now, we also have, we call them policy think tanks or civil society organizations. They are global, regional, and sometimes in-country. They also constitute part of the international community. And few examples, we have the global financial integrity. I think the analyst even is here with us. We have Basel. So for example, what this think tank do is just like what FATF and GIABA does, they also come up with what we call typologies. They come up with research areas and provide policy guidance. So I'll give you an example. When you hear illicit financial flows, IFF, this is a term that was coined by the global financial integrity. It didn't exist. And so that term now has been accepted, adopted, and is being used. And there are a lot of international publications that also cite their work. We also have the Basel Institutes based in Switzerland. They are also a policy think tank, and their work also is to come up with research. So for example, for Basel, every year they publish what we call the Basel AML Index. Okay, and maybe you know what an index is. Just to measure the progress, okay, the progress countries are making as far as anti-money laundering is concerned. And so it's global. It could be also Africa, America, and co, but it's a global report which you can also chance upon to guide your studies or your research or your work if you're a practitioner. Some of the quite important topics that so far the international community has focused on when it comes to the policy think tanks is trade-based money laundering, okay? How criminals use importing a car from, let's say, Canada to Ghana, how criminals are able to use that process to launder money, okay? How criminals are able to move value out of the country to wherever through exports. These are all areas that criminals use. And I think in the training manual, you go a bit deeper in the area of trade-based money laundering. Please take very good interest because it's an emerging area, okay? There's an element of tax evasion and all that there. It will be good to spend some time. There's also, Basel, for example, has done very good work when it comes to beneficial ownership, okay? And when you visit their websites, you should, and GFI, you should have some more information. Now, the third role the international community plays in the area of anti-money laundering is promoting international cooperation. Like I said, anti-money laundering is an international topic, okay? It's an international topic. In fact, sometimes when there are some crimes that are quite peculiar to us in Ghana, and there are debates whether we can describe them as money laundering. One argument people put across is whether this crime is cross-border. Okay, does it move from one country to other? Can that be established? If yes, then we say money laundering. So the topic itself, because it's international, it requires countries coming together in one way or the other to combat this crime. Now, quite a number of arrangements when it comes to international cooperation, but I'll just mention these two. So we have a body called Egmont, okay, and I mention it because Egmont is a global body that brings together all national financial intelligence units or centers in the world. So FIC is a member of that body. And the idea is to bring, all of them together, share intelligence, share trends. If there are some technical challenges that the various national FICs or FIUs are experiencing and they are encountering, Egmont see how best they can also help them to achieve their work. Okay. We also have Interpol. So Interpol is international police, just an example. So as part of international cooperation, because these crimes are cross-border, sometimes you need the police in Canada to be talking to the police in what? In Ghana. You need the police in let's say, where? Panaman leaks to be talking to the police in Ghana. Okay. And so having these types of structures to, as international cooperation is one very important role that the community also plays. There are quite a number of them. Okay. When you go to a GRA, they also have their own system as well. It depends on the stakeholder. Okay. So we also have one very important role that the international community plays in this space is what we call technical assistance. Okay, and you can see quite a number of the institutions that play this role. So you have GIZ, myself and my colleague. We have EU, European Union. We have Expertise France. We have IMF, we have the World Bank, we have FCDO, that is the former UK DFID, just to explain. We also have US Treasury. So, for example, the FIC in Ghana was, in the early days, supported by US Treasury at the time when it was being set up. Okay, so these are the various organizations that have the mandates in the global community to support countries, regions, and the entire world as far as technical assistance is concerned. Okay. Now, usually, the international community will they have thematic areas that they want to focus on. And it could either be putting measures in place to prevent these crime, or investigating, or recovering of assets, and finally, policy coherence. So the idea is, it is the wish of the international community to prevent this menace, because like the figure Lucy put across, $2 trillion US. I'm sure that will solve, how much are we getting from IMF? I'm sure if they share for us the whole population, we will all be okay. So it is the wish of the international community that we will prevent the criminals from perpetrating this crime. And so that's a big area of concentration when it comes to technical assistance. So over there, for example, we try to empower government agencies and regulators, supervisors, those who are supposed to set the ball rolling, right? We empower them in different ways to be able to put measures in place that will prevent this menace. The next is, if we are not able to prevent, then we are supposed to do what? Detect them and investigate. Okay? So we also, in this case, empower the law enforcement agencies globally. So earlier I mentioned Interpol. Interpol is a law enforcement agency. So you are in Ghana, you have the Ghana Police, you have the YOCO, you have now OSP, and the likes. Okay? Now, these are bodies that have legal mandates in various countries or jurisdictions to investigate crimes that happen. Okay, and so that's also another area that we provide technical assistance in the international community. Now, the next is asset recovery. So when you are unable to prevent the criminal and you investigate and the court makes a determination that indeed evidence suggests that there is crime, what do we have to do? Whatever money that was involved in the crime, we need to recover the money, okay? But it is not as easy as you see. There are a lot of technicalities. And that's one big area that the international community plays a role. Okay. And then we have policy coherence. So it's important that because it's a global fight, the approach to which countries or regions or the world is fighting money laundering is very coherent. It has to be very consistent. There should not be leakages or loopholes in addressing this challenge. But it also means that government needs to throw in a lot of political support, a lot of political will. And so the international community, some way, somehow, is able to influence respective governments to be able to put measures in place. And we also focus on that. So technically speaking, the assistance could be in a form of capacity building. So like what we are doing here, we're creating awareness, promoting knowledge. So now you'll be informed in one way or the other. And if you have knowledge, you have power, right? Yes. So capacity building. But the capacity building is from the government, it could be the ministries, it could be the agencies, it could be private sector, it could be students and the likes. Okay, so usually what happens is there are international experts, okay, that are available to be used to build capacity of the various partners that we work with. Now, another area we focus on is digitization, right? Not the vice president one. It's actually part, and it's a very important topic now because, for example, there is a conversation around learning from what happened during COVID. So assuming that happens again, how do we live? In fact, when you check the statistics globally, during COVID, a lot of the crime statistics went up. So whilst you were sleeping, they were busy doing their thing. It's because everything was digitized. So then how then do we now also provide digital solutions that can help the various organizations to prevent money laundering? For example, social media. A lot of crime, people put up, how do you call this? Ponzi schemes, okay? Oh, like Lucy said, grow for me. We are soliciting funds to do A, B, C, D. You see it on social media, and then you also join. We need to empower the various partners or institutions responsible for this fight to be able to even go on social media and pick a lot of intelligence and investigate. We also do a lot of policy and manual developments, right? Like I said, there's a lot of, we need to put up laws, we need to put up manuals in so many different ways to support, and that's the focus. Okay, but let me also mention that there's also a lot of collaboration among the various technical assistance providers. Okay, because what you see is you don't want IMF come and talk to Ghana, and the next time it is the World Bank who is coming, and they are all perhaps talking about different things. Okay, so there's a lot of collaboration at that level. Okay, now the next and important support the international community offers is financing. Maybe FIC in Ghana, what they need is money to be able to buy maybe an equipment that will help them in the discharge of their work, or money to set up an investigation system, for example, or money to go on a nationwide campaign or outreach to create awareness. And so one very important thing the international community does is financing, and usually it's in the form of grant agreements. So we give grants, okay, and no grants are free. Okay, Ghana Beyond Aid is not. The grants that are given are conditional. So usually, when any of those technical assistance providers you see up there are giving you the grant, they will tell you or they will agree with you what the money should be used for specifically, after which there will be measurement of the agreement, whether you achieved or not. If you do, it's likely we'll get more. So let's also keep that in mind. Finally, one important and very, very important, Lucy is laughing, very, very important role the international community plays is performance reviews. Performance reviews. You see, please go back. You see, I started with the standard setting, the first page. You see, I deliberately started with the standard setting, and I deliberately ending with the performance review. For the reason that it takes a lot of effort to put together the 40 recommendations. And so, once upon a time, there's a need to confirm if countries are really implementing the 40 recommendations. So the very last point I'm talking about, the performance review, is when we have either the FATF itself, or we have GIABA, or we have IMF. IMF also has the power to conduct a performance review. Come to, in this case, Ghana, which is going to happen next year, and check two things. The 40 recommendations, we have what we call the technical compliance, right? So, for example, every country should set up an FIU. So, do we have FIU in Ghana? Yes. They will take it. Now, the other expectation is the FIU has to be effective. Are they doing their work? Are they discharging their mandate as expected? If yes, then the boss is ticked. Then we are free. If not, that mutual evaluation process I've just explained to you will mean that it's either Ghana is blacklisted or Ghana is grey-listed. And I'm sure you've heard this before, happened to us some few years ago. Okay, and so the end game of having an AML CFT regime in place is to ensure that the 40 recommendations are compliant, and later you show evidence of the compliance. Otherwise, you are blacklisted or you are grey-listed. And our prayer, because I'm part of the international community, and we provide so many supports to in this case, Ghana, our prayer is that the next mutual evaluation Ghana will be going through, we will come out successfully. Amen? Amen. All right. Thank you very much for giving me the time to present to you. If there are any questions, I'm sure we will take it later on. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Eduam. That was another powerful presentation. Anytime you see people with very long portfolios, they don't behave like us in the lecture hall. For us, one name, and then you have Dean of Faculty of Accounting and Finance, finish. But when you see technical advisor, global program for, when they are doing their presentations, you see that it is really global programs. Thank you very much for your presentation. I think clearly, if I took anything from what you presented, it has to do with the avenues that people use to perpetuate these corrupt practices and how we can combat them. And I think he made mention that the FIC plays a very critical role in this particular venture, just as the GIZ, as well as the National Security and the Office of the Special Prosecutor. My only concern has to be with the fact that I hope that the personnel who are in charge of these officers will be God-fearing enough so that the monies that will be coming, because they are big monies, they will really be able to help us to combat these activities. I've seen on occasions where cars have had accidents, where police officers who are supposed to be the caretakers of the properties of the people who have had the accident, they themselves were rather taking the things. So we really need God-fearing people to be able to help us to combat some of these crimes. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. We are privileged. We have in our midst now the keynote speaker for the day. I wouldn't want to do this introduction. I would want to invite our Dean for the Faculty of Accounting and Finance to officially invite our keynote speaker for the day to give us her keynote address. Thank you.
Good morning once again. Thank you very much. So I have the privilege to introduce the keynote speaker for this occasion. And it's important to know the person that we are dealing with. And Ambassador Sena Siamboateng, the Chief Director at the Ministry of National Security, was until recently the former ambassador of Ghana to the Kingdom of Belgium, and then the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. She was also head of missions to the European Union, representing Ghana at all EU institutions in Europe. In Belgium, Ambassador Sena Siam held the position of Vice Chair of the Ad Hoc Committee on Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism and Good Tax Governance from 2019 to 2023. She contributed to the process of working on Ghana's strategic deficiencies identified by the Financial Action Task Force, which subsequently led to the delisting of Ghana in June 2021 from the European Union list of high-risk third countries with deficiencies in their MLA and CFT regimes. Subsequently, a workshop was organized in Mauritius in January 2023, where she chaired the section on good tax governance and delivered guidance to other countries on how to build resilient preventive measures to avoid getting on the AML-CFT blacklist as well as the process to follow to get delisted once they are listed. Prior to her appointment in February 2029, she served as a chief the cabinet, the office of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration of Ghana. As a career Foreign Service officer of over 27 years, she was occupied various capacities at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. Notable among them is the Director of Africa and Regional Integration Bureau, with oversight responsibility for the ECOWAS National Office and then AU unit. As a career diplomat, she has served as Ghana missions abroad, Havana and the Caribbean, London and Dublin, Madrid, as well as Pretoria, as Carnegie, sorry for my little French, covering serving African regions. With her strengths in negotiations, she has negotiated various international agreements on behalf of the government of Ghana. Ambassador Sena Siamboateng is a product of Achimota School, the University of Ghana, Legon, and Ghana School of Law, all in Accra. In her quest to build her capacity, she pursued various courses at the Defense Academy in UK, the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Ghana Armed Forces Staff College, the College of Europe in Belgium, Ghana Institute of Public Administration, and the Ghana Stock Exchange, among others. Ambassador was awarded Her Majesty Chevening Scholar at the Oxford University, England, where she pursued Masters in Diplomatic Studies and International Relations. She also a trained solicitor in legal practice, United Kingdom, and then qualified barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Ghana. Finally, Ambassador Siam, married with 2 children, and a sports enthusiast. Play lawn tennis, that's quite insightful, and enjoys mentoring. She also speaks French and Spanish fluently. Please help me welcome our ambassador. Thank you.
Good morning, UPSA. Thank you, Prof. That's very, very charitable of you. Well, as Dean of the Faculty of Accounting and Finance, I have to recognize you, Prof, and thank you so much for the invitation. I would also like to recognize Mr. Davis Edu Amponsa, head of the Compliance Section AML Prudential Bank. Yes, Mrs. Samuel Etiam, Technical Advisor, Global Program for Combating the Illicit Financial Flows. It was said that you have a very long portfolio. And my dear sister, Mrs. Lucia Bebrese, Head of Compliance, FIC. I've worked with them over the past few years, and I tell you it's not pleasant. Then I would like to also recognize our future leaders sitting here. Indeed, you are our dream, and Dean of Students, thank you for putting them together. Entire faculty, staff members, distinguished guests, our friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm deeply honored. In fact, I was very happy when I saw this topic. I did see it on Joy FM, so credit on Joy FM. And I got very interested, and I was happy when I got the invitation as well, because I wanted to also share some experience from where I was and then where I am now. So I'm happy that I'm here at the University of Professional Studies to address a subject of paramount importance to our global community, not only to Ghana, but to the entire global community. Anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism is very high on every country's security agenda. We are gathered in this auditorium not just as individuals from diverse backgrounds and professions and portfolios, but as a united front in the battle against the activities that threaten the integrity of our financial systems and consequently our economies and societies. In an increasingly interconnected world, the implications of money laundering and financing of terrorism stretch far beyond individual borders. Indeed, it stretches far beyond affecting global security, economic stability, and the very fabric of societies. If you think it does not affect you, please, I will tell you why very soon. It will, it does. From everywhere that you sit, money laundering affects everybody because the direct and indirect implications are dire. It is a testament to the foresight and commitment of UPSA that we are here today ready to embark on a journey of learning, understanding, and action. I've had to learn over the years why we have to fight this canker. So I will entreat you all to pay attention and also learn. I'm also still learning. Across continents, money laundering and financing of terrorism are not just abstract terms, but tangible and urgent issues. Money laundering and terrorism financing, they are dark undercurrents that fuel illicit economies. They destabilize governments and facilitate cross-border flow of illicit funds that support terrorism and organized crime. In West Africa, where we find ourselves. The nuanced dynamics of illicit financial flows are high. We cannot take ourselves out geographically where we are. We are where we are, surrounded by countries where terrorism is rife. The index, the Global Terrorism Index, has just been released 2 weeks ago, and Burkina Faso is number 1. Where is Burkina Faso? Sits right on top of us, total, all our 600-kilometer border. So therefore, we are at risk. Even if we are not laundering money, whatever is happening there may affect us, the infiltration will affect us. Given the fact that we are geographically located within West Africa where terrorism is rife, we are on the alert list. And that is why I'm saying that it doesn't matter where you sit, it affects us. Now I will go into some technical jargons, which I know that my colleague Samuel has already talked about. The Basel Anti-Money Laundering Index affirms this, that indicating that money laundering and terrorist financing risks in sub-Saharan Africa remain high, underscoring the challenge. From the informal stories that we hear of how herders, the cattle herders, those who move with cattle from the Sahelian region, the black market exchanges, they transport large volumes of cash via transhuman corridors to formal abuse and complicity. The actors in the banking space, they are complicit because we have to take these large sums of money. There is no teller in the bank or any bank. Prudential Bank is here. I don't think if you see me with a Ghana must go bag of money, you say take your money away. The bank needs the money, so they'll take it. But what does that mean? Where is that money from? How was it made? How did they come about it? So this is what we are confronted with, given the fact that we are geographically located within a sub-region where you have these movements, and also our system encourages cash transactions. Vividly speaking, nearly 2/3 of countries within our region, they are categorized as high risk for the ineffectiveness of their anti-money laundering and combating terrorism financing measures. We can appreciate the complexity of the challenges, particularly the interplay of regional dynamics, ethno-economic disparities, and political instabilities, of which we have a lot in our sub-region again. The susceptibility of various markets to exploitation and the vulnerabilities of individuals and state officials to corruption. We've heard that this morning. West Africa, with its vibrant economies and burgeoning financial markets, faces the dual challenge of fostering economic growth while ensuring that robust mechanisms are in place to prevent money laundering and financing of terrorism. Also, regional economies must achieve the aforementioned in addition to addressing other security challenges, including the proliferation of weapons and the exploitation on non-profit organizations for terrorist financing that less exacerbate the underlying conditions. Samuel just talked about the boxes that we need to check when the assessment is ongoing. When are we having next year? I know that from the last assessment and the fact that we're trying to be delisted, we're supposed to meet a deadline on our NPO, the non-profit organization. Yes. Is that done yet? It's ongoing. Will we meet the deadline? It has to be done. Are we in tune with Parliament's agenda so that they can table the bill in time. These are the things, because sitting back in Brussels, some of the AML amendment, the amendments we had to make to the act, delayed. I was sitting up there screaming. Parliament said it cannot be considered now, and the minister said we cannot take it through now. These are the things that we go through. But what is important is the time factor. We have deadlines. We have to meet them. The international community does not wait to look if this can be tabled or not. So these are the things that we have to look at and draw attention to. So in Ghana, we have been on a journey marked by both challenges and significant strides. In 2017, Ghana scored 6.84 on the Basel Anti-Money Laundering Index, indicating a high level of risk. Since then, Ghana has improved significantly to 5.29 in 2023, just last year. This feat is not without recognizing the peculiar challenges in 2022 that set us back. The point is that challenges persist, but with robust interventions, we can overcome whatever we have to. Our strengthened anti-money laundering and combating terrorism financing measures in 2022 resulted in a removal from the European Union list of high-risk jurisdictions. This adjustment is a testament to the resilience, hard work, and incremental improvements made by our nation in the realm of anti-money laundering and combating terrorism financing. It reflects a positive trajectory. However, like I said, we are not out of the woods. We have an assessment coming up. What do we do? I'm going to take us through why the European Union blacklists, how they do it, and why we went on the list. So I'll pause now and say that, and then come back to the way forward. You see, in October 2018, the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, they are based in Paris, that's France. They identified Ghana as a jurisdiction having strategic anti-money laundering and countering financing of terrorism deficiencies. Subsequently, the European Union, they have the Commission, they have the Council, they have the Parliament. That's the hierarchy of the European Union in Brussels. They assess the latest information received from FATF and other relevant information. So this is October 2018. So that means that you have come on alert. The moment FATF identifies you as having deficiencies, you've come on an alert. Then on 7th May 2020, the European Commission proposed legislation that would list Ghana among the third country jurisdictions which have strategic deficiencies. And what does this mean? It poses significant threats to the financial system of the European Union, i.e. dealing with Ghana poses significant threats to the European Union. So in addition to Ghana, we had other countries like Afghanistan, Barbados, the Bahamas, Botswana, etc. Let me say here that you have, for the EU, you have two lists they claim, but there is no difference to us. They tell you they have a gray list and they have a black list. The black list is very black, it's bad. The black list has North Korea, has Afghanistan, has those countries that they would just not deal with, no. Then they have the gray list that has countries like us that have, significant deficiencies. But for me, the results are the same. Now, let's talk about the legislative base and procedure. The European Union has legislative competence in this field because the free movement of capital, which we have in ECOWAS as well, within the EU, is one of the 4 founding pillars of the Union. So for them, they think that we made the argument in Brussels that what legislative base do you have to come up with a list that everybody will pick and now start pointing fingers at us. But they have stated that the movement of capital within their 27 states of the Union is one of the founding pillars of the Union. Therefore, they have the legislative base. So on that premise, the EU states that financial transactions between a third country, i.e. Ghana, and an entity in one EU member state could pose a threat to the entire EU financial system because of the free movement of capital. And the freedom for them to move their monies through the banks. So one country can pose a threat to all 27. Therefore, the EU has the authority to legislate in the field of anti-money laundering. So, because we argue that leave it to FATF, leave it to OECD, leave it to the UN, because those systems are already there. But these are the arguments they make. And because theirs is biting, that's why I am taking pains to explain this. Consequently, on 7th June, so we've moved from 7th May 2020, 7th June 2020, 1 month, the legislation was deemed to have been approved by co-legislators. Co-legislators because you have the 27 heads of state, and they are represented by the president of the council, which is Charles Michel. And then you have the parliament, the speaker of parliament. The two bodies co-legislate. So the parliament alone cannot say, yes, put Ghana on the list, so Ghana is on the list. No, it takes the council as well to agree. So these co-legislators, after a month of us being proposed, then they agreed that Ghana should be put on the list. So that was published in the official journal of the European Union on Friday, 19th June. 21 days after that, it came into force. However, as a concession, that was in 2020. And this again, I'm saying, was a lot of a pushback from myself and my colleagues in Brussels. We said we are in COVID. We are in the global crisis. How can you just list us at this time? So they gave us a concession, and this is where I come, Samuel. They said they will, their law says that 1 month after, which is in June, 21 days after you are put on the journal, it comes into force. But we pushed back, and they gave us up to October, 1st October 2020. Now, between June and October, you will know Honorable Kweku Kwatin in the MP, yes. And I'm sure he was tired of hearing my voice. I kept on screaming. We have a window now. Let's see what we can do. Can we amend because the first thing was for us to amend our AML Act. But again, like I said, the agenda of Parliament would not allow how it has to travel through Cabinet and all that. So come 1st October, we were now officially listed. What does that mean in practical terms? It means that banks and other financial gatekeepers, the so-called obliged entities, they are here in the European Union and even around the world. They are required to apply enhanced vigilance in business relationships and transactions involving high-risk third countries. The types of enhanced vigilance requirements are basically extra checks and control measures which are defined in Article 18A of their directive, and which requires, and I quote, enhanced customer due diligence measures to manage and mitigate those risks appropriately. That's the AML risks. So their mandate also stretches, and these obliged entities, they shall increase the degree and nature of monitoring of the business relationship in order to determine whether transactions or activities appear suspicious. The reason why I'm saying wherever it sits, it will affect you. It meant that even our cocoa, Cadbury suffered a lot. Our cocoa exports moving out of Ghana, Cadbury just could not move monies easily. They had to jump loops. They had to, go through extra checks. Some banks just decided they were not going to deal with our country. You would have heard that they closed some of our accounts, all because they said funds coming may be suspicious. It is not that we were laundering money. No, the bank made it clear. Indeed, they issued a statement, and the EU ambassador in Ghana did say it, that Ghana is not laundering money. It is just that we are now within the jurisdiction of high-risk third countries. That's what it means. And that, for businesses, was very difficult. Our grants, our loans were all stopped at a point. Extra checks had to be done. Even transfers for us to pay our staff in the embassy abroad had to go through a lot of checks and delays, and we would not have received monies for some time. Now, then it came to our pastors. We have a lot of pastors in Belgium. The collection is cash. They could not bank their collection received. And you see, these are little things you may not have thought of, but now everybody was getting affected. Now, if they cannot bank their money and then they have to send you, Prof. Isaac, if you were going to receive Momo from somebody from Belgium, it would not come because the person could not, you could not now deposit cash. So it's very onerous and very difficult, this thing. And that is why this assessment coming, we must not get back on a list. It's just a no for us. It's very difficult to delist. The same way they go through processes of legislations to list us, it's the same way you have to go through processes of legislation to delist. And that is even more painful and cumbersome. So in political terms, of course, it causes reputational damage to a country who is on the list. It risks impeding financial flows, and therefore economic growth and job creation for Ghana stalled. Considering these intrusive, expensive, and time-consuming enhanced AML measures, the reputational risks associated with assessment errors, many banks take the view that they would prefer to avoid doing business with certain jurisdictions like ours. Right now in our sub-region, Senegal has been listed, Burkina Faso has been listed, Nigeria, that has never been because they always push back. Things are changing. They've now been listed. And we have, I think, Mali also on the list. So just within a sub-region of 16 countries, 4 are on the list. You can imagine how that hurts the whole sub-region. And not just 4 small countries. We have 2 big economies, i.e. Senegal and Nigeria on the list. That is not good for our sub-region. So even if we work as a country, we have to help our brothers and sisters in the sub-region so that they get off the list as well. So this is what I have to say for the processes that the European Union goes through. Now, further implications for Ghana. The backsliding when you get off a list is very grave and cannot be overstated. While the socio-political implications encompass political isolation and increased inequality, the economic ramifications include a reintroduction of Ghana on international watch lists, a development that could adversely affect foreign direct investments, access to global financial markets, and continental integration strategies, notably the African Continental Free Trade Area. Right now, we host this continental body, and therefore, the ramifications will be grave. People are trading. They have to trade. Monies will move. We have to now be resilient. We have to be robust because we've taken on these responsibilities. We must seize the opportunities presented by technological advancements, including artificial intelligence, and machine learning algorithms, big data analytics, and regulatory technology solutions. That's what you call RegTech. I'm sure and I hope that all that will be in this workshop. We have to use all this to strengthen our anti-money laundering regimes and framework. Now, leveraging fintech innovations can significantly enhance the efficiency of our monitoring and reporting systems. We must also enhance public awareness. That's why I'm very happy we have this forum, because from you, it will go to someone else. Please pass the message on. We must enhance public awareness of the implications of money laundering and terrorism financing to build individual resilience and enhance whistleblowing to monitoring agencies. Further, we must strengthen legal frameworks and facilitate international cooperation. Our legal framework must be dynamic, constantly evolving to meet emerging crimes and modus operandi, because the systems change, the EU updates. Sometimes we are chasing the legislations, we are running to the parliaments, finding out what amendments they've made so that we are in tune. So simultaneously, we must leverage partnerships with international bodies and neighboring countries, sharing intelligence on suspicious networks and cross-border financial crimes. If you sit in a computer lab and you see somebody doing something suspicious, say it. That is why it is important that we have this public awareness creation forum. If you see somebody doing something wrong, say it. If you don't say it, it will affect us because it's coming out of our country. So this is my plea to you. Now, let us not be powerless, because together we can do a lot. Maybe as individuals, we may feel like I'm a student, I need to mind my own business, but no, you have peers, you have students in other universities, you have friends elsewhere. So please, let's continue this drive. The academia, please continue your invaluable research and shed light on the ever-evolving tactics of criminals. Industry experts, implement robust anti-money laundering and combating terrorism financing practices. Civil society organizations, another body that we have to appeal to, they have to hold authorities accountable and advocate for transparency. And to the general public, stay informed, raise your voice, and demand strong action from, wherever you sit. If you see something, say something. That is what I would like to see. This is not just about regulations and enforcement, as I conclude. It's about building a global village where dirty money has nowhere to hide. It's about safeguarding our communities, our economies, and our futures. Let this forum be the springboard for action. Let us join hands and be the architects of a world where criminals find no haven and terror finds no financing. Together, we can fight for a safer, more just world, one transaction at a time. And on this note, I want to say thank you for your attention. And if you see something, say something. If you see something, say something. Thank you. Prof, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Ambassador Senasian Boateng. I'm extremely happy with your presentation. I felt the energy with which you presented. That tells me how passionate you are about this anti-money laundering thing. And I think it's a good call at this time for us to take the advice that we should be the ambassadors as well, to make sure we report people who have been engaged in this very negative activities which is affecting us. If there was anything she said that hit me very hard, had to do with the fact that we were listed and we had to go through all the troubles for us to be delisted. And if you see the passion with which she spoke, she doesn't want us to go back there again to be listed, because the processes that you have to go through to get delisted are there. So it is our responsibility to report. You must report when you see. Don't be enticed by the money. Yes, we need the money, but please don't be too much enticed. Ghana must live so that you can make use of that money. If you have the money and Ghana is not around, we can make use of the money. So when you see them, report them. I remember I had a publication recently in January. I think 3 days after it was published online, then I got a message from an agency that they were awarding my paper for best researcher or something of that sort. So I took their details, went, and they had very nice website, a lot of things well displayed. If you don't take time to go down very well, you may think that these are well-established entities. Initially, when I saw them, at least I got excited a little, but I sat back and I said, but if you give me an award, at least I should have put in something for you to assess. You can't just see a publication online and you pick it that you want to award. So I started looking out for, so I went to ResearchGate, asked about whether they are credible. And apparently, for the past 5 years, they are one of the most criminal organizations who would only pick information online about you, what you have done, and they would decide that they want to award you. Then when you go through the process, at the end, they will ask you to pay some amount for registration or something of that sort. And when you finish paying, they will just put your name and your information online. You don't even see them, and you see your details. Everything is hosted online, and it ends there. But when I went online, I looked at the comments that came from very high-profile professionals, that these individuals are criminal organizations, that we shouldn't entertain them. Yeah, so if I was enticed by the fact that I was going to be given an award that I didn't work for, I would have just gone through the process and also pay, and then my name will be featured somewhere. So I think, Madam, we are grateful. We just need to be very careful with this. I'm concerned because where Ghana is now, if we allow these things to also take us back, then it means we have a long way to go. So, my students, let's just take this advice and help the system to peg itself. Good. I will be... So, Madam, we are very grateful. Yes, we'll be going for lunch very soon to end the first section. But I think we will not be having some of these fine personalities in our second session. And I wouldn't want them just to go like that. They've done nice presentations. So let's make room for some few questions so that we can ask them to respond to them before we break into the second session. We will go for lunch, then we'll go into the second session. So I'll take some few questions from my colleagues and students. So if you have any questions for any of the presenters for today, please just raise your hand. The mic is around. We'll bring it to you, and then we'll take it from there. If your question touches me a lot, I'll ask Prof. Bwedi to get you some 500 cedis. Bro. So make sure you ask a question that will touch us. All right, so let's take the first one.
Thank you very much. Please, mine goes to Ambassador Sena Boateng. I want to know, we have geographical location, so should somebody come from a foreign, an outsider, not a Ghanaian, and comes to do such in a geographical zone, should we get to know who did it and get to know that the person is not a Ghanaian? How would the law deal with the person, and how do we, as a country, free ourselves from such an act? Thank you.
I have the pleasure of Her Excellency to take this question. So if I heard you right, I move from my jurisdiction and I come to your jurisdiction. In your jurisdiction, you have laws that govern everybody on your land. So despite wherever you are coming from, once you are in our land, our laws apply. Okay? And if you listened to all the sessions until now, international cooperation has been hammered so much. So we will start dealing with you and then link up with wherever you are coming from and even deal with you more. So irrespective of who you are, where you are, the same laws will apply. And again, if you listen carefully, because of the FATF standards, the Financial Action Task Force standards, a lot of the crimes have been globalized so that if it is a crime in Ghana, it is likely to be a crime in wherever you are coming from. So you have no escape routes. Thank you.
My question is, if there are agencies to check the NGOs, what of if an NGO established, let me say, a children's home and is well registered, and let me say, in order of being a responsible citizen, I go there to donate, and at the end, I got to realize that the children's home is being established by a terrorism activity, to finance a terrorism activity. Am I going to be affected because I have donated to that orphanage home? Or am I going to go safe because I didn't know? I checked and it was registered. Thank you.
That is a very, very good question. And when we go into the sessions, we will take our time and explain what it means to say you either know or you ought to have known. So you know for a fact that this NGO, this is what they are doing, and you supported it. Or you didn't know, but when we were looking for that NGO, we found out that without your support, they couldn't have functioned. We will conclude that you have financed them. That's as simple as it is. But when somebody said, no. That is the law. When we get into the sessions, we would explain it to you. Either you have knowledge or you didn't have, but your actions and inactions helped that NGO to function. It's simple. You have financed it. And the law will deal with you. Yes. So from what... I want to embellish his name. He said I should just say Timothy. Okay, so from what Timothy shared with us, his experience, if he had gone through the process, at the end he would lose money, but he would also be published somewhere. Meanwhile, look at all the information people have about this group of people. Now, law enforcement, police, or IOCO is looking for this what are they called? Research company or whatever. They are looking for them. They would look at all the people who are connected to them, and Timothy will be mentioned as one person who patronizes a criminal enterprise. Meanwhile, he didn't do anything. So this is a little explanation to the ought to have known. When he did his due diligence, thankfully, he didn't associate himself with it. So whoever asked the question, either you know or you ought to have known, or even you knew and then you turn a blind eye, you are also liable. We'll go into it during the sessions. Thank you very much. Yes, Your Excellency.
And then I just wanted to add, because your question is very good. So again, with our experience in the diplomatic missions abroad and also the missions here, the embassies here, let's say Lucy wants a visa. So Lucy will take her money and go and pay for a visa. It means Lucy's money has come into the embassy's account. Now, when Lucy commits a crime and they trace some funds, she has made some transfer into your account, you also come up as being complicit. It's as simple as that. Without you knowing, because you see, first, we diplomatic missions, we had our accounts ring-fenced. It meant that these checks would not affect us. But what happened in 2020 was alarming. And it was a lot, it just swept almost all of us in Europe, the diplomatic missions, and in Belgium. Right now, my friends are not compliance officers in the banks. I don't understand them. I just thought they were just overbearing and exaggerating. But they said, look, so far as we could not also give them information. They want to know whoever has paid money into your account. I said, but that's breaching data, exactly, confidentiality. So if you can't even give the compliance team information that they require, then it means that they do not want to have anything to do with you, and then they put you on an alert list. So I'm saying that wherever you sit, maybe, and it's a good question you've asked, again we are saying it's good, because you may know, you ought to have known, you did not know, you'll be affected. That's all we can say.
Thank you very much for the presentations. And we are asked to, if we see something, we should say something.
Yes.
But as a concerned citizen, because we've realized that whatever goes on affects all of us. And now here is the case, you have seen something and you have said something. And there's also a saying that right now, if you want to fight crime, crime will fight you. So if you find yourself in that situation, what do? You want to fight crime, and the feedback that you are getting, if you don't even take care, you are even going to be the culprit. So in this case, what do you do? Thank you.
FIC. I think if I understand her very well, is there any protection for those who would be reporting these crimes?
Thank you very much. And I'm very excited about this session. If you see something, say something. You are a citizen of Ghana. You have a responsibility to help in ensuring the laws of the country. Whether you chose or you just dropped here, this is where you are, and there are laws. One very important law we have is the Whistleblowers Act, which in summary, whatever is in it says that when you see something, say something. When you come into the Anti-Money Laundering Act, it also encourages, if you see something, say something by the filing of suspicious transactions and other reports. Within the law, there is a provision that protects whoever gives information, in this case, to the FIC. It restricts anybody from beginning a criminal, civil, administrative action against you because you gave information to the FIC. But I want to emphasize that the FIC sits at the City House, 10th floor, with a very small total number of staff, working with everybody. If you don't help us with your information that is within wherever you are, your community, your campus, how can we be successful? The police is everywhere in the country. They still need information from us to be successful. As for the law, it has given us the right to get information from anywhere. But if you don't bring what you have to us, probably that thing is what is going to bring all of us down. So we all have a charge as citizens to inform the relevant agencies anytime we identify anything that is unusual. Remember, you are not establishing crime when you report to the law enforcement agencies. You are not establishing crime. You are just saying that, oh, I have seen that nowadays Samson, every weekend, he's having a party in his house. The cars that come to the party are the Range Rovers. Please mention them. The Escalades. You know all those cars. Nobody comes with a Corolla or a Vitz or, you know those things. The Kantanka cars. Hey, showechi. No. No alata. You know, but you never see Samson going out any time of the day to do any meaningful work. Do you look on for Samson to be enjoying and opening his music so loud that you cannot sleep? And because you are not his class, he will not invite you? And are you reporting because you are just jealous? Because the law says that you must report in good faith. Maybe when you tip off Samson's activity to a law enforcement agency, investigations will go into it. Maybe he's conniving with some people to do something in the community you are living in. And like Her Excellency said, directly or indirectly, the trade he is engaging in for which he's living that kind of lifestyle will affect you. When we go into the sessions, we'll elaborate on these things. And remember, now in Ghana, in the Anti-Money Laundering Act, the example I have just given, which is trying to address the lifestyle of Ghanaians, is in Section 1, subsection 3. So we are looking at all these things. Somebody will say, oh, and the politicians that, yes, the work we are doing, we don't go on media to say that we are investigating so and so. But there is so much going on. And remember, there are laws and there are repercussions. So if you don't report something, when he is being investigated, we will come to the community and then invite all of you who are in the area to come and tell us what you know. So you see, either you report or you don't report. You will be affected. So it is in your interest to actually report. And when you have reported and we are dealing with the people in the community during the investigations, we will be kind to you because at least you did what you have to do under the Whistleblowers Act. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lucy. Let me just clarify something. So we say, see something, say something. See something, you say something. So who do you say to, right? Now, you live in a community and somehow maybe you want people to know that you have intelligence about what's going on. And so everyone knows that you are the custodian of this information. That is also a risk to you. Yeah, so please, what the law says is all these intelligence must come to the Financial Intelligence Center only. You may, maybe where you live, maybe there's a police station, you can let them know, but please do not tell anyone else because that in itself also is tipping off, which is criminal. You understand? So see something, say something to the right person or the institution, right? And you are protected. Thank you.
I want to find out whether you face challenges dealing with these situations, particularly politicians trying to twist your arms, to suspend certain investigations, or to hide the findings of certain investigations that you have carried out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For all the work we do, not just FIC, every law enforcement have their own challenges. But if I am the officer in charge of that investigation, and you said a politician, so I'll use a politician. A politician takes me to lunch, go and discuss the issues, and then make some offers. The onus lies on me because I have signed an oath of confidentiality to be very diligent, to work with integrity, So do I focus on the lunch that I'm going at Kempinski, which I cannot ordinarily afford, and ruin my professional career, ruin my institution's position, reputation? That lies on me, the individual. I hope you get it. It is me to take that decision, because if there are records in every organization where the case came from, where it started, and where it's going to end, there are records. So if today I close my eyes and I go to Kempinski and I enjoy and I don't pursue the matter, there are records. And remember, I want to let you know that crime doesn't die. When we start an investigation today, it may stall, but it's not concluded. Somebody will come and pick it up and then start going back. What did you do? So it is, for me, your question that you are asking, yes, the institutions face that, but it is the individual staff within these organizations, the integrity, and how much I value my name, Lucia Bebrese. I keep telling my children that, please, don't go and fall into trouble, because anybody connected to me, if they fall into trouble, you'll be dealt with 100 times. Because they will say that your mother should have told you. Your sister should have told you. You should have known better. So it is an individual, what you place value on, that will let such influence come. But that is not to say that those things don't come. But we stand tall and make sure that we do the right thing. Thank you.
A group of friends lost about $30,000 to a Ponzi scheme. And with my experience in blockchain and cryptocurrency, I was able to trace the transaction and gather a whole lot of evidence. And they transacted about $90,000. And I went to the nearest police station to report. And they asked me, am I the victim? I said, no. They said I should go to the CID office. I went there, and they asked me I should write a report. And I said, okay, I need a guidance. And in the process, they asked me, are you the victim? I said, no, we bring the victim. Or go to the forensic bureau. I went there, and also a very complex system. If you have a system like this, how then do you fight money laundering in Ghana?
So I will pick it up from where Samuel ended. Reporting the right issues to the right institutions. Please don't be discouraged with your experience. I know next time when you see something, you may not say something, bearing in mind what you have gone through. But I want to let us know that there is Cyber Security Authority in Ghana, if you are not aware, who would open their arms wide to receive such a complaint, because it sits very, very well with them. Although the police also has a cyber security unit within the CID. But then for such information, I think the Cyber Security Authority is well placed to send such information. And the thing is that we are not very much informed about some of these things. So we believe that by the close of tomorrow, we would highlight all the agencies that are engaged in this fight, where to take what to be addressed. But if all fails you, come to the FIC. The FIC sits in the middle of everybody when it comes to anti-money laundering. So come to us. When you come to us and you give us the information, we have a very nice way of packaging it and taking that same information to the police officer you spoke to, and that police officer will be compelled to work on it. So we thank you very much for that question, and we hope when we go into the discussions, you will get more insight into it. Thank you very much. So whilst, okay,
So thank you
excuse me.
very much. Is there any
last question?
Is there any financial benefit when I come to report?
The only people I know who give financial benefits is GRA. And who else? Seth. I think they are the only one I know that when you take intelligence to them, when they finish and they assess the tax, they will give you a percentage. But for us, FIC, we don't have any package for you. What you are doing is your right and your role as a citizen of the country. You remember our president said that we should be what?
Citizens.
And not
Spectators. But so if do you have offices scattered all around?
No, we are only at the city.
So if I'm coming from the north and want to report, I have to come to City House with my...
Don't come. We have digitized our operations. There is a telephone number, there is an email, there's a website. You can use all these. And then we also have a portal. So we'll share all these details during the discussion. So you call us, and even on the phone, whatever you are telling us, we are taking it as though you have written a letter to us or you've come to our office, and we would work on it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, let me take this. You want to add something? All right.
So I think under the, I think Lucy mentioned the Whistleblowers Act. Under that act, if you give information to, let's say, the economic and organized crime, and they are successful in investigating the case, and they end up recovering an asset which was related to the crime, there is a percentage that will be given to you, the one who blew the whistle. So that is also something you can take advantage of. Thank you. Yeah.
My question goes once again to Madam Lucy. You gave an example of Mr. Sampson holding a party every week with all sorts of high rollers, and you never actually see him going out of his house or anything like that. But in this day and age, there are a number of reasons that you can use to explain that. I mean, what shows he doesn't have some business somewhere which runs autonomously and makes money for him? What shows that he's not a forex trader who operates on his laptop? What shows that he doesn't have some kind of bank account or some kind of online business like affiliate marketing or something like that, you see? So with that, my question is, just because you see that, you don't necessarily know. So how exactly are we supposed to see that something that we are supposed to report?
We'll buy you a big spectacles, thick lens, so that as you are walking, you are seeing all the something and then you are picking it. But that's an interesting and very, very important question. Remember, in all the speeches and presentations we've had, it was leading to the point that you are only reporting a suspicion. And I think in one of my statements, I also said that you are not establishing crime. Even at the FIC, with all the powers we have, when you bring us information and we work on it, for instance, if we have to partner with, let's say, national security, or let's say, IOCO, we will tell IOCO that, oh, we got this information from UPSA. From all the intelligence we have gathered, we are so convinced that there may be something happening. So go into it. We don't say that, Iyoko, this boy is a criminal. So we all don't establish criminality. You only report suspicion, what you suspect. But remember that in the example I also gave, I said, don't report because he doesn't invite you to the party. And then some chick bikra that you were going out with has left you and gone to him, because we ladies, we like things that are good. So you have to report in good faith. And remember, when the investigation starts, it is starting on the premise of your suspicion that he's always having a party, he doesn't go out, we don't know what he's doing and all that. Then the investigations will start digging him. Oh, and then they will see that, oh, he's a forex trader. Tick. Oh, his father died or his grandmother died, left him a plantation of cocoa. Take. Okay, oh, he owns this. Fine. We try to look at, oh, how did he get money to operate the businesses he's operating? Oh, he sold part of the cocoa farm. We have evidence of that. And remember, everything you are saying, you show evidential proof. Okay? So investigations will establish all these. And if they are convinced that his lifestyle matches all his sources of income, there's no problem. So don't have the notion that once you have reported it, it means that it will end in conviction. No. But if he was unable to explain all the things we have discussed, he doesn't have any proof. He said he has a cocoa farm. He has nothing to show that the grandfather or the mother bequeathed the farm to him. He has this boutique. We don't know how he started. There is no evidence of going to Davis in Prudential Bank to apply for a loan. He has, there is no proof. Then we are going towards a successful prosecution. So that is how it works. So when you're wearing the lens and you are seeing something, please still say something to the relevant agency. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So my friend, you can enjoy, but make sure you have evidence to show that. All right, yes, let's take more. Yes, I will ask. Yes, I will ask. Yes.
Okay, so my question is that after school, I want to work for an institution and earn an income. So during this, I made my research about an institution and realized that, oh, this institution is okay for me to work with. And I ventured. You see, when you are making research, one thing is that they only tell you nice things about them. They will hardly before you get to know any negative thing about whatever you are making your research about. So I got to know only nice goodies about this institution and I ventured. But when I'm working for them, I got to realize that they have one sort of financial crime. They are into some sort of financial crime. But the law is saying that I have to say something. And I ended up saying something. My question now is, will I also be penalized for the fact that I should have known before entering into the institution to work?
Yeah, so summarize the question. Let me know exactly what the question
is. Then secondly, would there be something to, like, let's say, right now I'm not going to work for them again. So will I be given some other job opportunity or a compensation for coming out of that institution?
Hey. Yes, so I would do that. Yeah, so we would answer your question. But our keynote speaker would have to take a leave for another important. So I want to invite Prof. Wedi to give us the closing remarks. To thank her. Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll come back, but your question is very important. We have to think through and give it. That's the best way lecturers will behave in classroom. When you ask us a question, we don't have the answer. We have to think through and ask some people. So we'll come back to you. And then, in fact, when we started the initiatives for this particular one, we were at Joy FM. Immediately after the presentation, we had a call, and that ambassador wanted to join this program. It has never happened to all our programs before. And I'm sure it's a testament to the fact that she's so passionate about these discussions. Today, she has been here. And on behalf of the faculty and the team that put this program together, and the FIC, we want to say thank you very much for coming through to support us. And we'll give you the feedback. We hope to extend these discussions beyond UPSA. The target is to reach almost about 200 universities for this year to educate them on anti-money laundering. That is the plan, and that's the project we are on now. So thank you very much for passing through, and we'll talk at other levels again. Thank you very much. We'll continue with your questions. Thank you. Oh, really?
All right. So, yes. FIC.
It's fine. I think she's just re-echoing what we have said. So you said you did your due diligence before you entered. So that's a check for you. And then when you went into it, you saw something, and then you said something. That is also another check for you. If that institution is successfully investigated, like we have said over and over, and their assets are seized, depending on where your information tipping off came from. So like Samson said, if you came under the Whistleblowers Act, if we go through a successful prosecution and assets are recovered, you would get a handsome reward. But as to whether we will look for another job for you, I don't know whether Ambassador would link you up somewhere. But that is the position of the law. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I think that we have to have a conversation around some of these issues, really. Okay, I mean, because it looks like growing up, whether it's by cultural issues or tradition or whatever, when you see something going on wrong somewhere, you say it. Your environment or your community, gives you up and then they victimize you. I think it's a conversation that we need to have. Because it happens in our homes, here right now, let your hostel that you live in, a laptop gets missing. You all know who took the laptop, but you be quiet. We need to have that conversation and see how best we can approach it. And you are the right people to tell us, because you perhaps are the victims in this case. So you should also tell us how you think, for example, you can be protected in these instances. So you can get the support of those in authorities and see how best we can move on, right? Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'm happy Ambassador is still around. I have a question myself. Yes, so I'm a church person. And I've been interested in looking at the lifestyle of our young ministers and, so to say, individually owned churches and how they carry themselves. And I've been interested between Ghana and Nigeria. So we've been looking at some research into that area. Oh, is a pastor? Oh, yes. Oh, praise the Lord. Yes, and there is an interesting thing we are observing. It is coming out that a lot of these money launderers, one of the areas they are pumping their money into is into the church. So a lot of these lifestyles that these pastors are living is not coming from the congregation in terms of tithe offering and all that. A lot of the money is coming from these areas. I want to know how does the national security and then the FIC, what has been your strategy as far as the church is concerned in handling this particular activity?
Maybe before I come in, I'll give it to a reverend minister who is amongst us to throw his thoughts on it.
All right. So far as the laws are concerned, Bank of Ghana recently issued a guideline on the money laundering. We did it together with FIC. And in risk profiling clients, religious organizations have been deemed as a high risk. So in the banking sector, as we are classifying clients and accounts, all such clients are deemed as such. And in the onboarding of such clients, we have spoken about enhanced due diligence. We have a lot of procedures that such applications go through. And apart from onboarding too, during the onboarding, we take up a lot of information about them. Where are you going to get your money from? What is likely to be the size of money that you are likely to get within a year? They provide all this information. So assuming they didn't even make mention of anything like foreign remittance, but all of a sudden, they begin to receive foreign remittance. They come into our view, and we subject that one into a lot of investigation, including confirming from the sender and all those things. We have done a lot of them, and sometimes we either send the money back or do other things. So for the pastors, and not only them, I think even the chiefs and traditional authorities and all those people have come into that. Other regulatory bodies like SEC and NIC are also doing the same. So we have classified them as such. But I want to also mention that people also believe in spiritualism and that sowing of seed and things like that. So some of them could be genuine offerings that investigation can prove. There was one case we established. There's one lady here in Ghana, an old lady of about 60-something years, whose work is doing is interceding for people. And a lot of people were sending money to her. We look at account information, and then there's this clause of money to one. So many people are sending this money to this person. We did a thorough investigation, and we saw that it was genuine, and we allowed her to have access to this thing. So it's the law application and then how the law has classified them. And we, as we said, we also monitor them. They are just against the information they have with us. And any time that we see that there's a disparity between their lifestyle, the operation of the account, and the information we have, we call for updates and things like that. So maybe Lucy can also continue.
So following up from where Davis ended, I'll only add that in the Anti-Money Laundering Act, religious bodies are just as accountable like a bank. So when you are taking your tithes to your church, and during the harvest, you are giving your church 50,000, 100,000, just as a bank will be required to do due diligence when you are taking money to them or when they are giving money to you, the same preventive measures also apply to the religious bodies. Yes. You see, there are so many laws in Ghana, until you come close to it, you don't know how hard it can bite. Sorry, sir. Practically. Yes, so you can go on and do the unpractical things until you come into our limelight, and then you will know that you know or you ought to have known. So they are also obliged to make sure that they know where Timothy works. They have confirmed that, yes, he works at UPSA. This is a range of income he has. These are the things that range of income can do and cannot do. So that when he is sowing a seed, which is 10 times his annual salary, then there is a question. And the church should ask. But like you said, is it happening practically? Yes. So the day a church will come into the limelight for investigations, you hear all these things. Oh, we have worked on churches. We have worked on churches. It's just that when we go into the session again, I keep saying that because I don't want to bore you with all the details. We will share practical experiences with you. We've worked on churches, and some of the things were not pleasant.
Very much. So this is more like a contribution, not a question. I want to know whether the FIC, I believe that in fighting or combating anti-money laundering, we have various stakeholders that are supposed to educate like the citizens of the country. And I believe maybe the local governments, the district assemblies, for instance, are supposed to also educate the people in the community. I want to know whether you really follow up on these people. But I want to know whether they really educate like people, because those in the remote areas, some are very naive. They don't know what money laundering is, and these people can be used with this act, for this type of act. So I want to know whether you really follow up on these stakeholders who are supposed to make sure that they are really educating people to combat money laundering.
And even our social media influencers.
Thank you very much. At a point, I didn't know, you said it's a contribution. Now you want to know, so you will know to do this work. So we can't do the work alone because it's very huge. And when we go, let's say, to the real estate sector and we are educating people, you will agree with me that the real estate agency will have so much knowledge of the real estate sector. And then we will come in with the anti-money laundering aspects. That is why collaboration with everybody is key. The district assemblies and the rural areas. I think some time ago we partnered, we partnered with NCCA to disseminate this information to the rural areas. So some work has been done in that respect. We believe and we are aware that sometimes we think Ghana is Accra, but it's beyond Accra. So we are taking the message everywhere that is possible. Thank you very much.
All right, quick one, just to contribute as well. So even when it comes to the student body, we also advise that among ourselves, we should be able to have like a forum or groups. So if you go to Pentecost University, we have anti-money laundering units. Yes, students. If you go to GEMPA, all right, we've also started something with them. So here we're expecting you to put yourselves together. So then periodically you'll be meeting to discuss money laundering issues. Things that we have gone through so far, we can do it over and over. So that's for the student body. Also to add on, we are also using the media houses. So I know maybe our moms in the villages, they can't read. However, someone can chance on some of this information and also use it to educate our community folks. So we use the media houses, speaking of, for example, what is money laundering? What's the impact of money laundering on Ghana? So we use some of these channels to make sure that at least we're able to communicate to the key stakeholders. Lucy has cited the financial institutions. We also use self-regulatory bodies in Ghana. So typical example will be, if you want to talk to the lawyers in Ghana, we use the Ghana Bar Association. If you want to talk to accountants on campus, we use ICAG. If you want to talk to bankers, we use the banking people as well. If you want to talk to car dealers, we use the Car Dealers Association. So these are some of the platforms that I've been using. But what I'm suggesting to you now is that after here, put yourselves together, those in finance, Let me also cite example. Somewhere last year, FIC Bank of Ghana, we did training for Legon, the business school. We spoke on fraud cases, talking about cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin and those ones. So you can put yourselves together. We'll be engaging you periodically to talk about emerging trends. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's a good call. My friend, you will be the president. You will be the vice, okay? So president, vice. You formed the association for us, eh?
Thank you very much. Okay. If you happen to be a wife and your husband also bringing more money home, you also need to find out where is he getting the funds as he bring it home. I'm sure ladies will not ask these questions. They will never ask. I mean, it's not their portion. They will never ask those questions. All right. Can you hold on with us 7 and then we'll come back to that. Just to wrap up with what we have gone through since morning. We started with some great introduction from a speech from Madam Lucy, and she explained in detail what anti-money laundering is all about. She also highlighted a key issue on some negative effect on the practice with such as corruption, terrorism, economic situations, damage to the image of the country. These were few things that were picked from her speech. Then Mr. Samuel Duam also gave another wonderful presentation on how we can combat activities of evil practices. And he also mentioned that we need to understand the global protocols, as well as some local ones for sure. And I think the last presentation we also had from Ambassador Senasian Boateng was also very concerned about causes and the processes of being listed on the anti-money laundering. The fight has just begun. And as a university and the faculties, to be specific, we have a mandate. And that is why we are at the forefront of championing this whole idea. We hope that we are now in March. We are to cover a lot of grounds to be able to educate our students and our entire country on this menace. Very important. So I'll leave the stage and then we'll continue the rest of other protocols and directives that we've seen so far. Thank you very much.